Jesus spoke to them again in a parable, saying, "The kingdom of heaven can be compared to a king who gave a wedding banquet for his son. He sent his slaves to summon those who had been invited to the banquet, but they would not come. Again, he sent out other slaves, saying, 'Tell those who have been invited, look, the feast I have prepared for you is ready. My oxen and fattened cattle have been slaughtered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding banquet.' But they were indifferent and went away, one to his farm, another to his business. The rest seized his slaves, insolent, mistreated them, and killed them. The king was furious. He sent his soldiers, and they put those murderers to death and set their cities on fire. Then he said to the slaves, 'The wedding is ready, but the ones who had been invited were not worthy. So go into the main streets and invite everyone who you find to the wedding banquet.' And those slaves went out into the streets and gathered all they found, both bad and good, and the wedding hall was filled with guests. When the king came in to see the wedding guests, he saw a man there who was not wearing wedding clothes, and he said to him, 'Friend, how did you get in here without wedding clothes?' But he had nothing to say. Then the king said to the attendant, 'Tie him up in hand and foot, and throw him into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, for many are called, but few are chosen.' Then the Pharisees went out and planned together to entrap him with his own words. They sent to him their disciples along with the Herodians, saying, 'Teacher, we know that you are truthful and teach the way of God in accordance with the truth. You do not court anyone's favor because you show no partiality. Tell us then, what do you think? Is it right to pay taxes to Caesar or not?' But Jesus realized their evil intentions and said, 'Hypocrites! Why are you testing me? Show me the coin used for tax.' So they brought him a denarius. Jesus said to them, 'Whose image is on this and whose inscription?' They replied, 'Caesar.' He said to them, 'Then give to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God.' Now when they heard this, they were stunned, and they left him and went away. The same day, Sadducees, who say there is no resurrection, came to him and asked, 'Teacher, Moses said, if a man dies without having children, his brother must marry the widow and father children for his brother. Now there were 7 brothers among us. The first one married and died, and since he had no children, he left his wife to his brother. The second did the same, and the third down to the 7th. Last of all, the woman died. In the resurrection, therefore, whose wife of the 7 will she be? For they all had married her.' Jesus answered them, 'You are deceived because you don't know the scripture or the power of God. For in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given into marriage, but are like angels in heaven. Now as for the resurrection of the dead, have you not read what was spoken to you by God? I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but God of the living.' When the crowds heard this, they were amazed at his teaching." Jones, if I didn't say hi, welcome in, friend. Now the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees. They assembled together, and one of them, an expert in religious law, asked him a question to test him. "Teacher, which commandment in the law is the greatest?" Jesus said to him, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. The second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets depend on these 2 commandments." While the Pharisees were assembled, Jesus asked them a question. "What do you think about the Christ? Whose son is he?" They said, "The son of David." He said to them, "How then does David say by the Spirit, call him Lord, saying, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I put your enemies under your feet. If if David then calls him Lord, how can he be his son? No one was able to answer him a word, and from that day no one dared to question him any longer. I love how Jesus is just able to, ask questions, see people's intentions, and do all of that. I'm watching. So it just hit me that everybody has had his servants go out and bring into the feast in place of those who didn't come when invited. He must have given new clothing so they would have been suitable for the feast. Sounds representative of the blood of Christ and what it does to our souls. Or maybe you're talking about heaven and the heavenly garment of the righteous. You might have to study this a bit more. Yeah, there definitely is a connection there with you get into the feast, the garment is supplied for you. The garment is supplied for you. So this is not a person came into the feast who was uninvited. All of the uninvited are invited. And he doesn't get into the feast because he is worthy. He rejected the garment that was given to him when he came into the feast. Everyone else is in a wedding garment. It is what you are given to come into the wedding. I don't fully grasp all of that, but I guess there's some cultural norm within that the wedding guests would be given garments to come into the wedding. So I don't know enough about that to say more, but there's a part of that. So he would have been given a garment. He sees someone who has rejected the garment, but is there at the feast. So those weddings sound expensive. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they would have been expensive. I mean, you're providing food for all of the people. If wine runs out, you are seen as bringing shame. So yeah, like people think that weddings are expensive today with all the extravagance that people have and do. No, they would have been the same in ancient times. You would have stored up since the birth of a child, perhaps. You would have stored up some things that you would be planning to use for the wedding. So some wine might be put aside every year so that it would be brought out at the wedding. You do something like that. Or at some point of age, you would do that. Like, think about the potentiality of early teens, daughters being married. So you're having wine that is, 10 to 15 years old is going to be the good stuff that you're bringing out. That seems like you would want to start storing that up from that point forward. Okay. We'll get started on the diving into it. We got ads in about 2 minutes, so we will have to come back after the ads. So he spoke to them again in parables. So he has been doing this as he has been engaging them in the temple. He is engaging them and he is teaching them lessons that they can carry away with them. Not like, I need to understand this formula. No, he's telling them stories. So we have a wedding banquet here, and the slaves are summoned, and they go out, and the slaves go to those who were invited. The feast is prepared and ready. But they would not come, okay? To summon those who have been invited, but they would not come. Does this sound like the older brother in the parable, too, when there's a feast going on and he won't come? Those who have been invited, look, the feast is prepared. I made my oxen, they slaughtered. Come to the wedding banquet. But they were indifferent and went away, one to his farm, another to his business. So he sends another group out there. Some just are like ignoring them. But others mistreat and kill them. Others mistreat and kill the servants. So he's furious. He brings justice to the murderers who did this. He sets their cities on fire for what they did to his servants, which is what I wanted in the last parable about the vineyard workers. He doesn't do that. So we can have the kingdom of heaven is like this, okay? So heaven is like the kingdom of heaven can give us different overlap visions of what it is like. Then he said to the slaves, the wedding banquet is ready, but the ones who were invited were not worthy. So go to the main streets and invite everyone to the wedding banquet. And those slaves went out to the streets, gathered all they found, both bad and good. So now we are bringing everyone in. Okay? The king comes in to see the wedding guest. So everybody is coming in. They're given garments to come in. We'll pick that up when we get back. Jones, in a sobering thought, God invites us to be a part of the kingdom and provides the clothes, yet people want to enter the wedding without the proper attire. Yeah. I'm watching. I wonder if it also applies to God pushing those who break the spirit of a Christian to the point that they leave the faith. Ooh, that's an interesting thought. I don't know. Just looking up some answers here, some more in-depth stuff. Yeah. The wedding garment parable. The wedding culture host often provided festival garments to guests, particularly the poor, as a sign of honor and inclusion. So now everybody at the party is without distinction. Okay? There's no distinction in the wedding because everyone is wearing the wedding garment. So there is no, I have a better garment than you because I am richer than you and you have a bad one and we know you're poor. No. At my banquet, you all have the same. You all come with what I provide for you. So he was willfully rejected the king's provision. So that was, yeah. Other things in the New Testament that they do represent Christ's righteousness. They do represent purity and victory. And then priestly holiness, divine approval, and eternal life. So those are some other things that are represented by garments in the New Testament there. So he is coming to the banquet, and everyone is now supposed to be equal. All of the rich, all of the poor, the good and the bad. Notice it did say, go both bad and good, and the wedding hall was filled with guests. So it doesn't matter, we're filling it out. So this is a willful not accepting the garment. And I do think when we think of the righteousness of Christ as being a garment, that might be part of what we're supposed to be thinking here. We are not willing to receive the fullness of the generosity of the one who is providing for us what we could not provide for ourselves. So he is going to be tied up and thrown out into the outer courts where there are weeping and gnashing of teeth. So this is like thinking that I can provide everything I need for myself to be able to be part of the wedding banquet. And I cannot do that. When the Pharisees heard, they went out and planned together to entrap him with his own words. So they hear this and they're like, we can't do this. We got to come up with a plan. We got to trap him in this. We got to come up with a prepared thing and we'll go into it. So they go to the Herodians. They don't like the Herodians. Okay, this is the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The Herodians are not going to like Jesus anymore. So what we're going to do, we are going to the Herodians because if Jesus answers this question one way, he's siding with the Herodians. If he answers it the other way, he is siding against the Herodians. So we're going to bring them into this conversation, and we're going to like this would be very easy to do if you have a group of people that are split with Republicans and Democrats and asking a question that you know that the Republicans will support the answer or that the Democrats will support the answer. And you know that there are various things that you already know the answer that they're going to, and you ask a particular question that is pointed, that is going to upset one of the two groups. And those are the two groups that are there. And you can't avoid it. Like, this is Jesus masterfully working his way through that, seeing through what they are doing. So, teacher, and look how they butter him up. We know that you are truthful and teach the way of God in accordance with truth. You do not court anyone's favor because you show no partiality. I mean, like, just butter him up. Like, this is Eddie Haskell type, gee, Mrs. Cleaver. Tell us then, what do you think? Is it right to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Jesus realized their evil intentions. Duh, as soon as they asked the question. Duh. Hypocrites, why are you testing me? Show me the coin used for the tax. So this is the coin given to Caesar to pay the tax to Caesar. They brought him a denarius. Okay, they're in the temple. This coin with the image of Caesar is not permitted in the temple. He's calling them hypocrites. Yeah, they happen to have a coin with Caesar's image on it in the temple, which is not permitted to be in the temple. But they have it. So whose image is on the inscription? I mean, we focus on the answer that he gives. But really, they shouldn't have had the coin in the temple at all. But they do. Now, the Herodians probably are the ones who had it. They're probably not worried about it as much as the Pharisees would be. But he does this. Whose image is on it? Then give to him what is his, and give to God what is God. Like, he doesn't answer the question entirely. Like if it's Caesar's coin, then give it to Caesar. If it's God's, give it to God. So he comes up with a new answer to a problem that they'd been dealing with. Now you're imagining a religious leader with nerdy glasses. Jones, for the way that I'm reading this, we need, and it's a trap. It's a trap. Yes. The same day, Sadducees, who say there is no resurrection, come to him. Teacher, Moses said if a man dies without having children, his brother must marry the widow and father children for his brother. So there's we're going to start with a quotation from Moses. And, actually, so... And then they're like they get this absurd thing, but I love how they do 7, because 7 is the number of totality. 7 is the number of completeness. So she was completely, cherry picking, exactly, Supersonic, taking out of context. And Jesus doesn't fall for it. Now, one of the reasons why this whole thing was that you were to do this is to raise up the name of your brother. So the first child would be your brother, so his name was not forgotten. And then the descendants of that child would be your brothers. And then all the rest of the children would be your heirs. So your brother's inheritance would go to that child. The rest would go to yours. Now, here's the weird thing. If the 7th son had married her and had children, the first son would have been for the first brother. The second son would be for the second brother. He would have had to have gotten to 7 children before he had an heir. Is that not weird or bizarre? There's a bigger problem there. But here's the thing that Jesus answered, and here's where we get a little bit off track on some level. Because the reason for the marriage to the second brother, third brother, fourth brother is to have an heir. So Jesus is answering their problem about having an heir. Okay? For in the resurrection, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels in heaven. So there is no need for procreation in the age to come. It won't be that way. In this age, there is procreation. So the purpose for what you are talking about is null and void. There is no need for descendants to be heirs so that the land will be able to have an heir to the land, to the promise, to that. So that's what I believe Jesus is talking about here, because their problem is whose husband is she, so that the whole point of all the marriages were to raise up an heir. So there won't be a need for her to be anyone's wife in the resurrection, because there won't be a need to have children. They'll be like angels who are not procreating and producing offspring. So I don't think Jesus is answering the question that they are asking entirely. No, there won't be relationships of spouses in heaven. I don't think he's answering that. I think he is simply answering the procreation, having an heir question, which they were asking, which is the reason why this was instituted in the first place. So, Luce's watch streak, woohoo, free points. 45 stream streak, wow, Luce's, that's amazing. So that's the entire year so far. Now, as for the resurrection of the dead, okay, so he's going to get to their bigger problem. You gave me a problem here. You're asking about resurrection. You opened the question. Let me prove your thinking wrong. I am God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but God of the living. So in order to be the God of Abraham, Abraham needs to be living. The God of Isaac and the God of Jacob, they all need to be living, not dead. He's not the God of the dead. He is the God of those who are living. Like, he totally put a trap in there for another. Ooh, 65. Wow. I so easily miss one here or there, especially when people do one-off. Or if I'm on vacation. There we go. That's another way. When the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they assembled. So we had the Pharisees and the Herodians come, then we have the Sadducees come, and now the Pharisees are going to try again. One of them, an expert in the law, asked the question to test Jesus, which commandment is the greatest? Okay, let me see if they have anything in the footnote. Yeah, we rewatch the VOD, and you can save your streak. Yeah, I know this. I've mentioned it to people, too, which you have to do it within 24 hours. I didn't know that. It had to be within 24, but that makes sense. Or what side of... Okay, so here's the thing. Nobody disagrees about what the greatest commandment is. I don't think they're asking Jesus what the greatest commandment is. They all know it's love God, okay? They're really trying to get at, is the second greatest commandment love your neighbor as yourself, or is the second greatest commandment obey the Sabbath? Because this is where they fall. They fall into two camps of those who think that obedience to the Sabbath, and obedience to the Sabbath represents the letter of the law and adhering to the law. And so under that process, they put laws against each other, commandments in the Old Testament, which is how they avoid giving to their parents who are in need and caring for the parents, which, honor your father and mother is not about you as a child. It's about you as an adult. And so if you're not caring for your parents, you are avoiding that. But they are saying, oh, no, that money I could give to you is devoted to God. And so they are going to the obedience of Sabbath aspect of things. I can't go and do certain things because I'm bound to this. So that's what Sabbath represents there when they're usually focused on the Sabbath. And loving your neighbor is doing what another person needs, regardless of what it costs. So they argue about that. So Jesus' answer about the greatest, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, strength, whichever version it is here. Let's see, heart, soul, and mind, just those three. Nobody disagrees with him on. This is not news to them. But love your neighbor yourself. All the law and the prophets depend on these two commands. So Jesus is summing it all up. He is not buying into their problem. He's going to go on. A crash can easily mess up someone's watch streak because OBS can be a jerk. Yeah. After the final judgment for eternity, wouldn't there be the limit of the people created? So finite number at some point, even if we don't know how many, or is it simply not for us to know? I think it's simply not for us to know. But there is the thought, based on what Jesus is saying here, about the in the age to come not being given to marriage, is a part about they will be like the angels, not procreating. There is a finite number of humans who will exist, and in the resurrection they will exist, but we will not have a need for children to be created. Or maybe we're wrong on that. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe there's just no need to have a child for inheritance sake, because we won't be bound by that. So I'm not interested really in figuring out the answers to those things. I'm more interested in the here and now than I am in the age to come. Time for you to get up and make your breakfast, get your pills. Where's your cord charger? You'll be lurking to listen. Thank you. I'm watching you people. Well, the Pharisees were assembled. Jesus asked them. So he's been being asked questions. Before they can do anything else, he's going to turn to them. And he asked them, riddle me this. What do you think about the Christ? Whose son is he? He's the son of David. See, I knew what you were going to say. And he says, well, then how does David say, by the Spirit, call him Lord? The Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I put your enemies under my feet. If David calls him Lord, how can he be his son? Until you have Jesus fully revealing this, I don't know how to answer that question. He is the son of David. The son of David is the moniker of him being a descendant. Sure. More than that, he is the Messiah. More than that, he is the one who brings and does healing. So he is the son of David as a man. However, he is fully God, and David is worshiping and serving him as Lord. Now, what does David know and understand in regards to all of that? I don't know. But David, through the Holy Spirit, is revealing this. How does then David by the Spirit call him? So David by the Spirit is saying this, whether David fully understands it or not. Hey, thank you for the follow. A simple man. 23. Call me a simple man. I don't think that's what it is. I got the tune wrong. So no one is able to answer him a word. From that day, no one dared question him any longer. All right, so we made it through 22. Let's go look at our list. That was our goal for today, friends. That was our goal. I do have a course that I will be teaching. So we're not going to go any further today. I got a full day. I mean, I got a super full day of stuff to do. I still like